Founded centuries before the rise of the automobile, the old walled city of Leiden is an excellent example of an urban environment built at the human scale. In Leiden, we see many of the hallmarks of good urban design that today's city builders are rediscovering, including mixed use, walkability, connectivity, public spaces, third places, and civic art. Many of us, however, have little experience living in a city designed for people rather than cars, and wonder, what is it like to live in such a place? As an anthropologist, I know answering this question takes time and immersion. So my family and I moved to Leiden and spent a year engaging, observing, and recording this community with its long history of living at the human scale. We'll begin on a rainy Easter morning, in the place where the Pilgrims stood in 1620, the morning they departed for England and then on to America. And though the Dutch are now mostly non-religious, the old church bells still call the remaining faithful. Leideners breathe life into these old cobblestone streets whenever they come together to have a good time in their public spaces.
Taco, wat was een mooie foto. Taco heeft het uitgevonden. Sorry Taco.
So this is Barrera's, great third place, right near the University of Leiden. Different parts of the week, different crowds come here, students, professionals, and just neighborhood people in Leiden. It's a real watering hole where people cross paths and meet. Big events are celebrated here. 3 October, World Cup matches against Brazil. This is where the neighborhood comes and hangs out and comes together. All right, so we're here in the heart of the old medieval city of Leiden, the town center near the Peterskirk, and at first appearance on the outside, you're surrounded by cobblestones and bricks, and it's a very hard environment. But behind these walls are little gardens and little apartments with yards. I think there are people walking right behind that wall.
Yeah, you hear them talking, and they say, "I wonder what's behind that wall." Oh, I would love to see what's behind the wall. I said, yeah.
Sure you would.
Yeah, sure you would. I would. I'm like that too. Yeah. I want to see. I'm curious too. It's such a beautiful garden. I'm so lucky. And it's always been a garden since, I think since, 1700s. Because this was part of a castle of a duke or something. And so it's always been a garden. So you know the soil is good.
What kind of vegetables have you got planned for this year?
I have peas for pea shoots too, because pea shoots are very nice to eat in themselves, and you can get them in restaurants now. They're very expensive, so I grow them myself, and then they're very cheap. And then I have peas for peas. I have fava beans. I have zucchini. I have Swiss chard, rhubarb, asparagus, strawberries, cabbages, tomatoes. Aubergine or eggplants, paprikas, peppers, you name it. And we have peaches, we have pears and quince and blackberries, raspberries. There's not trees, but a walnut tree. I feel like I'm living on a small farm in town with everything close by, bars, restaurants, everything. I have everything I wish for.
Walking down this little alley brings us to the interior space of the housing block. This little collection of rooms around a courtyard is a hofja, an almshouse from the 1600s. Many housing blocks have interior courtyards where people can retreat from the intensely public streets for more private activities. A more recent addition are storage units, where residents keep bikes, barbecues, tools, whatever else they don't want to keep in their house. Now, in just that little walk, you get some small sense of a quality of Leiden spaces, of narrowness opening into larger spaces, and even into larger views down streets. The scale of spaces are always changing. It's a strange mixture of small, medium, and huge spaces. So it's like your vision is always changing. Some things are up close, some things are very far away, and it's always surprising what's around the corner. Leiden is unlike many European cities in that it does not have a single dominating public square, which means that depending on the day or the event, different neighborhoods host the city's public life. This triangular public square is the Beestenmarkt, where farmers once brought their animals into the city to sell. It's a wonderful example of how a city square can act and feel like a large outdoor room where thousands can assemble. The Beestenmarkt hosts a wide variety of activities throughout the year, such as used book markets, car shows, carnivals, and cultural festivals.
En brult met kracht, Steven vooruit! Vaarwel, daarmee we gaan naar zee. Nemen onze godsdienst mee, we verzetten vier de wakens. Weg van de molens, Leidse lakens, wij gaan naar de overkant, op naar het beloofde land.
The premier event occurs in November when families from all over the area ride to the Beestenmarkt to welcome Sinterklaas and his Moorish helpers, the Zwarte Piets, who arrive on a steamboat from Spain. Although people are very conflicted about certain elements of this ritual, it remains very important to them in reinforcing their Dutch cultural identity.
Zwarte Piet, dag Sinterklaasje.
Ah, daar ben ik weer. Het is een jaartje geleden, maar we zijn weer terug in het mooie Nederland met mooi weer. Dag meneer!
us go visit a busy street. This is the Court Rappenberg. It's a key intersection in the transportation network of the city, and all forms of travel share this space. No traffic light, just triangles painted on the street, pointing at the direction that must yield. Watch how the traffic simply flows. My apartment overlooked this street, and visitors from America would sit for hours staring out the window at the street life below.
Sometimes when I'm on the highway, and I am in a traffic jam most of the time when I go by car, but like I said before, I almost never do. I really see myself as part of a giant rolling machine on the highway, because all these wheels around me, everyone's standing still. Doesn't matter what car you drive, because everyone is in the same situation, stuck. That's pretty silly. That's how I look at it. Leiden is a beautiful town. It's an old historic town, and I love the environment. Taking in culture every day because of the beautiful surroundings and the old buildings. I pretty much prefer to live in the center of Leiden, where we are at this moment, much more than to live in suburbia.
Do you usually ride your bike to work?
Almost every day. When the weather is not good, I sometimes take the bus to the central station, and then I go by train. And occasionally I take the car, but I want to avoid the traffic jams. So for me, it's easy to go by public transport.
Do you like the ride?
I love it, because I take in the environment of the old city of Leiden, and before I go to the Wall Street of the Netherlands, where it's all concrete and glass and steel, and this is a more humane environment, so that's why I prefer to go by bike. And it's also not that far. I mean, it's a 2 minutes. 2 minutes trip to the central station, and then less than half an hour to the place where I work.
sneltreinen, Schiphol, Amsterdam, Lelystad, Sloterdijk en Amsterdam Centraal Station. Van de 42 minuten.
Op kantoor trouwens. En mijn vraag was slechts, of dat kan, dat hij vanaf de 16e een shot neemt uit het raam over de Zuidas. En dat is eigenlijk alles. Hij filmt verder helemaal niet in kantoor.
Leiden lies in the green heart of Holland and is part of the Randstad, a group of important Dutch cities, including Amsterdam and The Hague, that are connected by a dense network of roads, rails, bike paths, and canals. All the cities of the Randstad are accessible to each other by train in under 30 minutes. So at the end of this beautiful little alley is a coffee shop. It looks just like any other cafe in town, but this is where you come to buy a cannabis joint or hashish or a cup of coffee or a Coke, play some games, whatnot, spend an evening and just relax. On the outside, it looks the same as every other cafe. Chairs for sitting, bicycle racks for parking, and it's located in a beautiful little residential street near the Pieterskirk. Across the street, however, I want to show you this. It's a wonderful little pocket park. I bring my kids here all the time, and they swing, slide, spinners, and it's a great place for kicking the ball around and making drawings with sidewalk chalk. This is where the kids of the neighborhood hang out in the afternoon, which also happens to be a time where the adults of the neighborhood come by to pick up something from the coffee shop. Two very different uses in very close proximity to each other with no problems whatsoever. It's a safe place, it's a fun place, a quiet place. People live here, the streets are quiet. But just on the other side of those buildings is the Breestraat, one of the centers of commerce. It's boisterous, it's loud, it's busy. You can't hear it. It might as well be a world away. But you have these little alleyways that are connectors from one neighborhood to the next, from the busy to the quiet. So the Breestraat and its businesses are immediately accessible to the folks living in the residential area. Yet the noxious qualities of business space, the traffic, the people, the noise, the bright colored commercial signage is all separate, very close in distance, but a world away. And a little alley acts to connect these two worlds.
So what's the plan?
We're off to the market to buy some fish. I feel like eating what's it called? Squid tonight, so we're gonna see if there's squid on the market and then buy some tomatoes and bread and cheese and eggs.
All right, let's go.
Goedemorgen.
Hi. Smerig. Ja. Ja, dat weer. Doe maar lekker zo. Nou.
Mosselen en dan een paar binnenschelpjes.
Zo, 12.
Oké, is goed. Dag. Dag. Een doosje aardbeien graag. Had je de knoflook? Alsjeblieft, dank je. Hetzelfde, doeg, tot ziens. Kom maar rijk. Doeg. Dank je, jij ook. So I went to the market this morning and to the bread shop. And I got this wonderful bread, which is really, really good. Some fresh tomatoes, strawberry juice already. Oops. Let's see. They're probably very nice. And cheese. Really good old goat's cheese. Really nice. And some creme fraiche. And those were the groceries for today because we'll take the lettuce from the garden. But we'll have some fish tonight.
The main market area, the Almarkt, is a hub of activity throughout the year. Market days are Wednesday and Saturday. In summer, people relax at outdoor terraces. In winter, a floating ice skating rink is installed. And on special occasions, beer gardens are floated on the canal. In late April, the celebration of the Queen's birthday happens throughout the nation and serves to strengthen Dutch national identity. Along with the usual street parties, a key element of Queen's Day is the free market, when anyone can sell in the streets without a license. A really interesting aspect of this is that children take over the main market area, selling their used toys to other kids. It's a great way to clean out a cluttered house and allow children to take on adult roles in public space.
We just go a little bit through town and then go out and be in the open in the polders. Look how beautiful the landscape is there. And you're really outside there.
These farmlands lie several feet below sea level, and historically, flooding them with the waters of the North Sea was the last line of defense against foreign invasion. Such was the case in Leiden in 1574, when the Spanish army laid siege to the town. Mayor Peter van der Werf led the city through the siege, and at one point offered his arm as food to the starving Leidenars if only they would hold out a bit longer. After months of hardship, the dikes were cut and the polders inundated, allowing the Beggars' Navy to relieve the city on the 3rd of October, chasing away the Spaniards and bringing herring and white bread to feed the beleaguered people of Leiden. As their reward, Prince William founded the University of Leiden, which became and remains a driving force in Leiden's development. All Leidenars know this story and are bound together by it. The relief of Leiden is remembered in an annual 3-day celebration. Public squares and parking lots are filled with carnival rides. Beer gardens and performance stages take over the city streets and canals. Automobile traffic is all but banished as thousands flock to the city to join the party. On October 2nd, the statue of Peter van der Werf comes to life to tell the tale of Leiden's relief to the city school children, and leads them in songs about their city and its history. key element of this celebration occurs in the pre-dawn hours of October 3, when Leidenars gather at the City Hall to sing songs of celebration and remembrance. So what did I learn about Leidenars and their city over the course of the year? I've never seen a people so in love with the public realm of their city. Leidenars are constantly using their public spaces for both private and community purposes. From welcoming Sinterklaas, celebrating Queen's Day, remembering the relief of Leiden, and many, many other occasions, Leidenars use the public realm to reinforce the sense of who they are. Daily exercise is built into their routines through the design of the city. As a result, Leidenars are active and fit. I myself lost 20 pounds over the year just through walking and biking everywhere. After a year in Leiden, my family and I returned to America. The first thing my son asked me as we drove home from the airport and entered our typical American town was, "Dad, where are all the people?" "In cars," I replied. "They're all in cars."